please give it up for 2018 International Boxing Hall of Fame inductee, the voice of Showtime Championship Boxing for so many years, Steve Albert, ladies and gentlemen. Also, this gentleman was born the same year as Smitty, so we know his age. In Denver, Colorado, he began what turned out to be a famed broadcasting career in Denver in 1977. From 81 to 87, and again from 2004 to 2008, he was a reporter for ESPN Sports Center, a sports journalist at NBC and CBS, began boxing in '79, working closed-circuit telecasts for Top Rank and King Vision. Since 1994, he has been part of the Showtime Championship Boxing broadcast team, serving as interviewer and ringside reporter, a veteran of over 700 championship bouts. His work has earned him accolades and Emmys and a plethora of other things. What I think about is the Mike Tyson interview after the disqualification loss to Evander Holyfield. Please give it up for Hall of Famer Jim Gray.
Do I really?
Okay, yeah, well, they're just telling me at the, I feel that they're giving me some secrets, some really good secrets, though. How are you guys? And welcome to Canastota. We'll start out with you, Steve. When did you find out that these guys actually know what they're doing, so they're going to get this stuff out of the way?
So you can see us, yeah.
It's very important that we see you guys as well as hear you guys, right?
Not that important you see Steve.
Steve, when did you find out that you were going to become immortalized here in Canastota?
Well, when Ed Brophy, let me get my friend back here for a second so I can get some leeway here. Here we go. Good thing this isn't live. When Ed Brophy called me several months ago, I was pretty much in shock because the catchword at Showtime was teamwork, and so whenever individual accolades are handed out, it does come as a shock to the system. So I was amazed and very honored and had great gratitude when he did call me. And, you grow up with a passion to do play-by-play and blow-by-blow. It's not something you think about going into a Hall of Fame. You do it because you love it. And I'm kind of a guy that shies away. I'm a little uncomfortable. I get embarrassed by attention and recognition and things like that, and so it's more pronounced for me when something like this happens in my life. So it's really quite humbling.
Same question to you, Jim. Tell us how you found out and what it meant to you when you first found out.
Well, I was home alone watching a Patriot game, getting ready for Monday Night Football, and the phone rang, and everybody can see on your phone now.
Well, we're being interrupted, so I guess there's, ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, and he's going to sit down. Iron Mike Tyson, Hall of Famer, former heavyweight champion of the world. And he has a few things to say to these two guys about some of their broadcasting and questions, specifically Jim Gray, but that'll be coming up.
Where would you like me to sit? All right, good.
Hello, Mike.
How you doing, Jim?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Okay.
Hi, Mike.
How you doing, sir?
Good. I didn't catch the name. What was the name? I'm kidding.
What do you make of all
Mr.
this?
Albert.
Thank you.
This is very exciting. This is something that's long overdue and something that you deserve. And I'm so happy to be involved with this. This is really awesome stuff. And you deserve this stuff, man. You put in the work all the years. Talk to the craziest guys, the coolest guys. You dealt with me over the years. That's a lot of stuff.
I'm so happy that you're here for this, because I wouldn't be here had it not been for you. We have a long history together, and I've known Mike since he was a very, very young man. Was never a little boy, but I knew him as a young man. And then he became the youngest heavyweight champion ever. And it's humbling to be here with you now, and to have done all of those fights and to have all of those interviews, and we'll talk about it a little bit tonight and tomorrow, but from you broke your back to you're going to feed some children to I've got to feed my family to all of the stuff that has gone on, standing next to Mike was a true honor. And Mike made me famous, and I'm not ashamed to admit that, because we were on your coattails, and they were long, and we all earned a real good living because of you.
Can I ask Mike a question about
Absolutely. Go ahead.
with Jim? You know, when I was calling all of those amazing Mike Tyson fights, we'd be sitting there ringside, and then after the fight ended, we'd be listening, just like the fans, at the interviews between you and Jim, and some of those wild and crazy things that you were saying. Was that stuff that just came to your head, or was something that you had thought about to say?
I just said,
Whoop, there goes the mic.
I just said what the doctor told me. The doctor said your back is breaking, you have pieces breaking off your spine, and then so that's the only thing I knew. My back was broken. And I told him.
Okay.
And when I asked you what the problem was, you said spinal.
Spine. That's what the doctor told me.
But I think Mike's greatest
You know what
line.
the problem? Can we get to the bottom of this now? What was the problem?
I don't know. It hurt my back a little bit, and I made a big thing out of it, and it was bigger than it was, and I thought I broke my back because he said pieces are chipping off my spine, and so I said my back was broken.
But the
But
greatest
this is the crazy
Tyson.
thing. When my friends heard it, right, they said, Mike, if your back was broken, you couldn't fight, Mike. I said, really? Holy shit, I didn't know.
The greatest Tyson line, though, to me, and I don't know actually when he made it, but it's one that everybody loves, and it's everybody has a plan until they get hit. I don't know when you came up with that one.
Well, that's the Customato line. You got that from Customato.
Really? Until you get hit in the face. Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, we're going to get right to it since we already, we were going to segue up to it, but since we're already here, I would like to ask you, Jim, that iconic interview, the rematch with Evander Holyfield, and all the chaos that ensued, and you're up there in the ring. Talk about what you were thinking about in your head as you're going up inside the ring at the MGM Grand and getting ready to try to talk to Holyfield and Tyson, and what ensued.
Well, I had seen what had happened, and then I heard Steve in my ear with his description, which he was right on top of it. And our other partners that evening were Ferdy Pacheco and Bobby Ches. And so I had been aware of what had gone on, and then of course we got the warning, then of course we had the next stoppage, then Mills stopped it. So when I got up into the ring, it was before there was really, there was still chaos. The fight was over, but there was still a commotion. So as I got up there, it really kind of turned chaotic when you tried to get around a couple of the policemen, and they decided to pull out their billy clubs and decided this fight was over.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have a picture of me fighting the cops. You saw that when I'm fighting the cops?
You still had some fight left in you,
They
Mike.
shot me. I said, oh, man.
So I was attempting to get to Mike or Evander, and then I saw the billy clubs come out, and I just said, you know what? This is the one time I'm going with the referee in the neutral corner here, because I'm going to stand behind Mills Lane. I don't know why I thought that little guy could protect me, but I thought that's the best place to be. So they started swinging the clubs, and finally they got you out of the ring, and Evander out of the ring, and then there was...
But as I'm getting out of the ring, I'm fighting the people in the crowds because they're throwing stuff at me.
They're throwing beer, and they were upset.
So I'm fighting. So I'm trying to climb up and fight the people in the crowd, and I couldn't get up there, but I wish I could have. But
Meanwhile, Holyfield's looking for stuff around the ring. You don't know what was going on.
we're a lot of people, and then we'll get to what happened in the aftermath with the interview. A lot of people thought and think to this day you wanted out of that fight because the gash over your eye, and so that you took a desperate measure to disable him or to get a disqualification. Did you think that was going to be the case, or what was the thought process to try and equalize the eye?
once I saw my eyes opening again, I saw him looking at the eyes, because when he was butting me with his head, I saw him looking at my eyes to see how it was open. I totally lost discipline, and I went in survival mode.
Now wait, one thing, Steve. One thing.
There's a soundbite for you. Excuse me, Mike.
One thing here. Well, I didn't think I'd ever ask this, but what does an ear taste like?
It tastes like ass. It's horrible. Well, his was bad. His was bad.
When the bell, I've always wanted to ask you this.
It was so bad, I took a second bite, right?
I was gonna say, you must have liked that ass.
Alrighty. And we're at the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota.
This is
with
so
Steve
much
Albert,
fun. Where's
Jim
that
Gray,
trophy? He
and
didn't
Mike
know that all this
Tyson.
fun was going to be going on.
Are there any kids in the audience?
But nobody's filming this. It won't end up on social media, right, ladies and gentlemen?
Don't worry about that. So I got back to do the interview, and there was Rory Holloway, and that's Stacy. Yeah. You know Stacy and Frank. Anyway, I got back to do the interview, and Rory and John were standing there. Then you had all the guards. You were being protected at the time by
I was going to be arrested at first.
Well, they wanted to, didn't they? And Don talked them out of it. Whatever you may think of Don, he saved you from them going in.
Well, he probably did it for his own best interest.
If
I'm in jail, he can't make any money.
Well, that's true. So anyway, they warded all of that off, and then you had some of the Nation of Islam was protecting you. Some of those guys were standing outside.
They were?
All the bow ties and everything.
Well, shit, they should have protected me when I was in the ring. That was the wrong time to protect me. They should have protected me when I was fighting with the cops and they were pulling out the billy club. Why didn't they come protect me then?
That's between you and them. Did you pay them?
No.
Maybe that's why.
I didn't know they were there.
Maybe they weren't. Anyway, so Don tried to sneak in behind me. And perhaps one of the best moves that I've ever had on television was I stopped Don and I said, Don, all those people have paid. And we were live on the air. And fortunately, they were live. The program was with me at that moment. I said, Don, all these people who paid $60 want an explanation. What are you going to do in the next 10 minutes before we go off the air to make sure that Mike Tyson comes back out and addresses what's just gone on? So right there, Don, you could see the cash register in there. I need an explanation, or all these people are going to want refunds come Monday morning. So he brought Mike out.
I bet he came up with a good one. He brought me out, huh?
He brought you out.
Yeah, I bet. We were just all happy about not getting sued by all the other corporations and stuff. And I was just happy about that.
So when we did the interview, and you gave the explanation that, look at my eye, I have to feed my children.
Well, no, I said they had to look at me. They had to look at me, being look like I had a third eye.
And I have to feed my children.
I must have said that as well, because that's what I do very well.
Were you still kind of out of it at that moment when we were talking?
I don't know if I was out of it, but I knew I had to do the interview.
When that third round started, I've always wanted to ask you this. When you came out, Mills Lane called time. Your mouthpiece was not in your mouth. You had to go back into the corner. Did you go out to start that round with the intent in your mind to do what you wound up doing and making boxing history, or was that a mistake in the corner? They forgot to put the mouthpiece in your mouth. What was the thinking behind all of that?
Just had some dumbass cornermen. I had no idea that the mouthpiece.
Serious?
Wow.
Yeah, they said they had no idea.
Did you think your career was over when you left the MGM that night? Did you think that they would allow you to fight again after that? Did you have full recognition of what you had done in that moment, or was that survival mode not allowing you to have clear thought process?
Can I just say this, being as truthfully and honest?
Should. Have you ever not?
All right, I'm Mike Tyson. They can only keep me away for so long. They have to bring me back. Nobody wasn't making any money, you know.
Which raises an interesting question. Did you think that you were above the rules of the sport, and did you think also that you were being used by the sport? So was it a double-edged sword here?
The double-edged sword. I believe I took advantage of it too. You know what I mean? I got my sensation out of it. They got their sensation out of it. It was a fair deal.
Y'all folks need to recognize something right here. A lot of this hasn't been said before, and I've been the beneficiary of standing next to Mike Tyson at his greatest moments and at his worst moments. And every one of these moments has given us a terrific insight into the history, not only of what he has done in the ring, but all of boxing. So I've been the beneficiary, and Steve, I don't want to speak for him, has been the beneficiary. We have been able to chronicle and in a small degree be able to document what has gone on of people's lives like Mike Tyson, and there hasn't been another life like Mike Tyson. I was lucky with the end of the Ali era, and we've had Hagler and Hearns and Floyd Mayweather and some great, but nothing quite like this. So that's a large part of the reason, I don't want to speak for Steve because he does play-by-play, a large part of the reason why I'm having this weekend, and I'm grateful to you.
Hey, I'm happy that you're grateful and all that stuff, but when we come down to it, this is what you deserve. This is yours, you know what I mean? From your merit, you won this. I didn't get you this. You won it from your own merit.
But I can tell you that it meant a lot. Mike pulled me aside in Las Vegas not so long ago and said, we got to get Jim Gray. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. In some ways, he's tied to you like, Ali and Cosell, a different type of relationship, but a broadcaster and a fighter who will forever be linked for what took place in and outside of the ring.
And I'm honored by that comparison because I loved Muhammad Ali and I have tremendous respect and admiration for Howard Cosell. And to me, in my growing up era, they were and are the sport. And when I look back and I think of that, it brings me thoughts of my parents, of my childhood, of everything that I loved and enjoyed and looked forward to. So to hear that come out of your mouth and to have other people say that really, really fills me up and it's emotional and I thank you. I don't know how you feel about it.
Hey, listen, I don't talk too much because when I got indoctrinated, I started crying. And this is a moment where you do cry at, because,
I want to say something to Steve, though, too, who I go all the way back to Don Dunphy and before, and I truly feel that he's one of the greatest pure blow-by-blow commentators I've ever heard. And the calm and the measure that would always take place, even amidst the excitement and the chaos, the way you handled that call and so many other calls. We're focusing on that because we're here and Mike's here, but truly that moment and the way you handled it, but it had to be difficult because none of us knew for a second there, what the heck is going on?
Well, I thank you for the kind words. I mean, I was a big Don Dunphy fan growing up, and like you putting Jim in the same breath with Howard Cosell, when somebody mentions Don Dunphy in the same breath, that's a great tribute and a great honor, because when I was growing up, I used to watch with my dad in Brooklyn, growing up, the Friday night fights in black and white, Carmen Basilio from Canastota, Sugar Ray Robinson, Gene Fulmer, people like that, and that's what I grew up with. And Gillette Cavalcade of Sports, all that stuff, that was fantastic stuff. And I didn't want to be like Don Dunphy. I wanted to be Don Dunphy. I wanted to talk like him. I wanted to do blow-by-blow like him. I wanted to sound like him. I wanted to eat like him. I wanted to drink like him, everything. He was just my guy. And then we wound up working with his son, Bob Dunphy, who was the director and still is for Showtime.
And he does a great job. He's doing a fight tonight.
He's in L.A. at Staples Center tonight. But that,
with us at Showtime.
Right. Yeah. That particular night, I remember walking into the arena the night of the rematch between Mike and Evander. I was always a little on edge before doing a Mike Tyson fight because of the unpredictability, because I'm a meticulous preparer, and I really...
How do you make notes for Mike Tyson?
Oh, yeah. You just throw them out and you just call the fight. But no, it's not your
Don't
fault.
apologize, Mike.
It's not your... No, you actually made it easy. You actually made it... Once the fight started, it was so much great action that I didn't need my notes. I just called what I saw, and you just go with your gut instinct, and you were great for announcers for that reason. You were a godsend for blow-by-blow announcers, believe me, because sometimes you get those slow lumbering heavyweights in there. Names shall remain nameless, and you know, that's when you're referring to your notes so you can keep the fans entertained because there's nothing going on in the fight itself. So you got to make up for that entertainment. But I remember walking into the arena that night. Again, I'm particularly on edge doing a Mike Tyson fight because of the unpredictability factor. But that night, I was more on edge. It just felt like something strange was going to happen that night. But nobody in the world, in a million years, could have foreseen that. And there was no way, as an announcer, to be prepared for something like that to happen. So it was an out-of-body experience. It was surreal when it actually was happening. And I remember thinking to myself, as it was happening, what would Don Dunphy have said? How would he have handled this?
Wow.
And that really was lurking in the back of my mind. And I remember his always calm, composed, cool way of calling fights. And so I drew from that. And again, not to the extent that you've affected Jim's life in such a fantastic way, but it affected my life and broadcast career in a fantastic way because that too kind of put me on the map. And if it wasn't for your two fights with Evander and the Diego Corrales, Jose Luis Castillo fight, I probably wouldn't be sitting up here with you guys right now. But they say the cream rises, without doing this, they say the cream rises to the top. Great moments in sports can make a humdrum, run-of-the-mill, blow-by-blow guy into a big-time Hall of Fame blow-by-blow guy because he takes advantage of the moment and he seizes the moment. And he says what the fans want to hear at that point. And so I'm grateful to be here for those reasons.
So a round of applause for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
Well
you.
said. Jim?
It's one of the legendary calls ever. Mike, I'm wondering your comfort level now. You were the youngest heavyweight champion in the world. You define an entire era. You now walk the planet as the face of boxing with the passing of Muhammad Ali. You now have that honor and that moniker. Are you comfortable or uncomfortable to be so well known for what wasn't your best moment, but your worst?
No,
Or is it kind of something that you're totally at ease with now?
well, I don't dwell on the past, but I never shut the door on the past. And I realized that was an undisciplined moment. And during my life, I realized I have to watch those moments because that could happen again. So I'm always aware of how I conduct myself. And plus, when I was fighting, I was on so many drugs and so many pills. I was depressed. I was bipolar. Man, I was tripolar. I was everything you could imagine back then. I don't know how I stayed alive, really, but this is the best I ever felt, you know, and I'm very grateful.
They have stuff now in Vegas that's legal for tripolar, they tell me. I'm not sure if that's true. You know what?
Not for the kind of bipolar I had.
You know what's amazing is that Holyfield, when he was one of the first guests on my show in this corner, and he told me that he forgave Mike in his mind right away. And a lot of people don't know that Holyfield actually bit somebody, earlier
The
in
Olympic
his
trials.
And so but he was a guy that said that he forgave you, and now you have a good relationship with Evander.
Yeah. Hello. What I was saying.
Great minds think alike.
What I was saying is that was something I did, and I was very grateful that he accepted my apology. That meant more to me than anything that he accepted my apology because I know I wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I shouldn't have even been fighting. I shouldn't have been fighting because I had so many mental issues. I was so, whoo. But I'm just really grateful that he accepted my apology. That made me so.
You know, I've been able to cover sports for 40 years. And I want to say this about you. Mike Tyson takes his medicine. He doesn't blame the trainer. He doesn't blame the doctor. He doesn't blame the opponent. He doesn't blame the police. He doesn't blame anybody. He stands up there and he comes and he faces the music. Today, we have a lot of people who will hide behind any wall they can from the public and not accept responsibility and accountability. And you may think whatever you may think of Mike Tyson, but let me tell you something. he answers the bell every time and says, I screwed this up. I effed this up. This is on me. And there's a great lesson to be taught. At least I see a great lesson in that. When you see others, why were you always able to put it on your shoulders instead of try and pass it off to someone else?
Because I was the leader of my group. I'm Team Tyson. I got to take all the punishment for myself. What am I going to do? Tell John Roy Holloway screwed up my life. John Horn screwed up my life. It was because of Don King. That's not the truth.
How much has Kiki and your wife and your children been a blessing and been of help?
Oh, man, I'd be dead without them. It's just, I'm just really lucky. Really lucky.
And you recognize these moments now. Now you're totally restored. Here's another thing. Let me tell you something. These people came after this man like nobody else. Other heavyweight champions have been come after. Not only the authorities for what went on, but also the tax man, the IRS. And Mike told me last night he paid the IRS in full. Yes. After he was bankrupt, $50 million.
Yeah, I was grateful for that too as well. I was grateful for that as well too, because I never thought I'd make that kind of money again to pay these people off. So I thought I was destitute. But my wife fought, she just fought and fought and fought and fought, and eventually I couldn't pay him for a while, so they took some money off. They said, "Can you pay now?" I said, "I can't pay you now." They took some more money off. They said, "Can you pay now?" I said, "I can pay you a little bit. I can't pay no more. I can't pay this bill." So I gave them a few $1 million, and I didn't have to pay them no more, but it wasn't nothing compared to what I owed them.
Why did you want to do that? A lot of people just try and step away from it and evade it their whole life and eventually, but why was it important to you to finish that?
In order to have a healthy life and a healthy lifestyle with your family, you have to get these people off your back.
Before I go to Steve and a few more questions and comments, the script that I had for this is totally blown away and great. Thank God that it did. As a little kid growing up and spending so much time with Muhammad Ali at the Fifth Street Gym and being a part of his life, and even though we think of Mike Tyson in some ways as the antithesis of Muhammad Ali, all these years later, getting to know Mike and even sitting here now at the Hall of Fame with him, there is a lot of common ground in the way we as boxing fans feel about Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that comparison. And no one's like Ali. I could never ever fill his shoes, but that was just, it's great to be compared to him. Thank you very much.
Steve, some final comments about what this all means to you and life after boxing, LAB I call it, what it's been like for you?
Well, now I'm a stay-at-home sportscaster.
You do your own shopping?
Mike writes all my material, by the way. Yeah.
Well, you win another Emmy then.
He's my comedy writer. By the way, I have to give props out to Mike for just the way you reinvented yourself. It's unbelievable. In terms of, I mean, you just get it. You get it. And you're such an aware person with the movies, with the show that you do, the one-man show, the cartoon series, and what you're doing now. I know you're involved in a different project now. Would you like to get into that?
This is a cannabis program, and it's not necessarily for people that want to get high, but if you want to get high, you can. But it's mostly a medicinal, where you can go there for your medicine and your pain. I'm being really serious here.
Yes, he is.
And it's legal where we
it's
live,
legal.
ladies and
So
gentlemen.
I'm not doing anything wrong.
No, you're not. Go ahead.
Yes, and that's the business I'm in. We just had our first summit a week ago. It turned out real well. We got the NFL involved, and this is something this is going to be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to this. It might be profitable as well.
Yeah.
What strand of, what are you calling
We have all the strand. We got Knockout Kush. We got KO Kush. We got all kinds of, listen. You know, man, we got
ear aroma and all kinds of
we
stuff,
got it
Mike.
all,
It's-
man.
Which one works best?
The sativa. Keeps you functioning. You can work on it. You can't work on that indica stuff. It keeps indica is like in the couch. You can't move.
All righty then.
Okay.
Hey.
Don't worry. We'll edit all this out. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But are you still doing your one-man show?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. I'm gonna do it in I think on the 23rd or the 24th. I'm getting ready to do it in the Bogota in Atlantic City.
Any more Hangover movies coming out?
God knows you created a few.
Well, once they call me, I'm here.
You know, Mike says something. Mike said,
I did, yes. That's true.
I asked Mike last night, I said, you know, Mike, you've left a lot of material out of your one-man show. I said, when are you, and it's the most honest portrayal of anybody's life. Anybody should go see it at the MGM, and it travels all over, but in Las Vegas at the MGM, I said, I know a lot of stories that have been left out. And Mike said, public can't take everything.
No, they can't take everything. They look at me really funny. Hey, but listen, about Jim again. This has been an awesome occasion, and not only that, I get to meet Jim's whole family. I met his two brothers. By looking at his two brothers, I could tell Jim was the baby, So, but the fact is that I'm very happy here because he brought his whole family, and he asked me to come here. So I know this meant an extremely important moment for him, and I'm just happy to be here with him. Me and my wife. My wife's getting her fingernails done right now. Wish she could be here.
Very nice.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this has been an honor being here in front of all you great people. Many of you people traveled many miles to be here. You deserve a round of applause. It was great to work with Jim Gray for many, many years on Showtime Championship Boxing, although, as I mentioned before, I was very meticulous in preparing for my fights with my notes, but this guy would always, 2 seconds or 2 minutes before we'd go on the air, steal my notes before I would go on. And he drove me crazy. I go, where are my notes? Where are my notes? I can't go on the air. I've been working months on this fight, and this joker over here had him in his back pocket somewhere.
So I've been really blessed. I've had an Albert in my life since I was 12 years old. Al Albert used to do the Denver Rockets and the Denver Nuggets games.
USA Tuesday Night Fight.
And I was a ball boy.
That was your dad?
Al is my brother, and
Al's
Marv
his
is my
brother.
brother. Yeah.
And
but
so
most
Al-
people think he's my dad.
I'm going to pass that on to Marv as well.
That's true.
Anyway, so Al, I grew up with Al, and then I got to work for many decades with Steve, and also many decades with Marv at NBC. And so I've had this vote in my head of who I like the best. And
Here we go.
I'm going to reveal it, but I've had
Don't
to get
reveal it.
I've had to get a security clearance from
Yeah.
Ernst & Young.
Keep it to yourself.
The
That's okay.
final tally is coming in. Marv had
Yeah.
inched ahead for a little while, and
Yeah.
then he dropped, and Al. So
I got to tell you who my
I think
favorite.
maybe now that you're in the Hall of Fame, Steve's my favorite Albert.
Right. Thank you very much. I finally made it. I'm recognized by Jim Gray. But in all sincerity, my favorite Gray, of course, is Fran, your wife.
What it takes
Mine
to make
too.
a great broadcast are great broadcasters and a great, great fighter. Steve Albert, Jim Gray, and Iron Mike Tyson. Please give it up.